It's that time again. Already, Need for Speed Heat has returned to fill all our senses and make us very excited. Now, we already made a video talking about the handling customization, but this one is specifically about the performance customization, so it's a little bit different. We spoke about how the handling settings are going to affect your car in the real world. There was some little hints about things we could do. This one gives us those full details. So goes what they decided to do for this game is take a step back and look at the bigger picture for the handling. Now, this could be mumbo jumbo talking about rubbish, but they said multiple times throughout this campaign of advertisement of pushing this game that they are looking at stepping back and opening up the handling a little bit more. They've said this in multiple different ways. And they took the idea that you can make a car bad. You can make a car wheel spin be too powerful for its own tires. And that's great. And I can confirm that I did do this at an event. I did make a car way too fast for its own standard tires and gearbox, in the fact it was limited by four gears. And it was spinning in those 4 gears. It was an amazing, amazing feeling. And I can't wait to actually get to experience that properly again at home with my own tools, my own cars. I get to play with whatever I want. You know, I'm not time restricted. We know Need for Speed has been pretty simple for the past a long while, actually. All upgrades make you go faster, if there were upgrades. Drift absolutely everywhere. You want a grip? Maybe we could try. Cars that can have too much power. Cars that can be absolute sleeper cars. This is what we've waited for. We already knew that sleepers were possible in Need for Speed. We saw it with Black Box's games, especially the run with that blooming Golf. But now I feel like it's coming together. It's going to be totally possible. There are 4 different upgrade groups for the vehicles we're going to be talking about today, and that is engine, chassis, drivetrain, and auxiliary. Engines, you can tweak things like forced induction and nitrous, which is pretty straightforward. Chassis, we already spoke about, is suspension, brakes, and tires, and that affects how it puts the power out. Drivetrain, I hinted a little bit here, it's based on clutch and transmission. Auxiliary has 2 different slots, and these 2 different slots do 2 different things. So we have an active item and a passive item. Active items are controlled by the player. That would be instant refill nitrous or a repair kit. Passive ones would be increased damage and also reinflatable tires. Now, I ain't no tire reinflate man. You know this. We roll without no tire reinflations. Who does that? I ain't no weakling. Damn. But no, if you want to do that, you have the option to do so, because some people find it frustrating. It ruins the pursuit for them. But for me, it makes it so much more exciting to have the ability to properly lose if you hit the spikes. That intenseness. Forced induction actually affects both sound and performance, which is really good news. Forced induction, hopefully we get so many options to the point where it just changes the sound constantly. And the thing is, the only thing with that, we spoke about it with the exhaust. If you upgraded the exhaust, you got the best one, it would affect the sound, I think. If it wasn't, there was the visual, and I'm wrong here. But ultimately, this is an issue in that if we install the best one, which would probably be, I don't know, a twin turbo setup or a bi-turbo setup, something like that, like we spoke about as what I would like to see in the game. Will that mean that, say, for example, we have a 69 Camaro, again, I keep using that as an example as one of my favorite cars. If we had a 69 Camaro, does that mean we have to put those turbos in to get the best performance, when realistically, that's not what we want? Well, there's a little bit of a difference here. They say that the best isn't always the best. If, for example, you were doing off-roading or you were doing drifting, you're not really looking for the best performance parts, are you? You want them to be maybe constant performance, like a supercharger. We get to play around with that stuff and figure out what is best for us. They're adding another layer to be like, okay, that might be the fastest, but it doesn't mean it's the best for your setup. That I very much appreciate. Thank you, August. Nitrous itself has gone through some changes. Usually in these Need for Speed games, we have action and timed refill nitrous, and that was what it was in 2015. And then they since kind of combined the 2 in Need for Speed Payback. So you just had NOS. Like, that was it. It just increased as you leveled up your car. Now, this time they've done it again a little bit differently to try and experiment, continuing on with that experimentation of the nitrous. And they have made it so that when you can upgrade the nitrous, you have 2 options. These 2 options are quite different from each other. Now, you can have multiple small bottles of nitrous, so every time you unlock the next upgrade, you can add another small bottle on. So you could probably end up with 20 million bottles. You couldn't. But you can add on bottles, and these small shots, when you press the boost button with the A or X or whatever it is on PC, shift, you press it and it goes, and then you get the next bottle, goes. You can go like that, or you can have one larger bottle to replace the small one, and it takes a little longer to go through, but it's a lot more powerful, that sort of thing. Now, naturally, as you level up in the game and get new NOS unlocks, the NOS becomes more powerful and lasts longer anyway. But the bigger bottle will always last longer. That's the point. It's kind of a strategic thing. It would be interesting to see how this is going to work. Is this going to actually change anything? Because as we found out in the Crew 2, when they had the two types of NOS, you had the double NOS or the single NOS. We found out that the double NOS was better slightly, but not massively, because it took longer to refill that nitrous to the point where it was practically using the same. You're using the same amount of NOS in the same amount of time for the most part, right? Anyway, I'm interested. I feel like for drag and speed focused cars, I'm going to use the big bottle, but for my drift and my, I don't know, off-road, I'm probably going to use the smaller bottles, because it's going to need to be those sharp bursts. In a circuit race, I will probably have the smaller bottles for the sharp bursts every now and again when I need it coming out of a corner if I messed up and went into the wall, because the handling might not be great. We'll see. We shall see. Handling we already spoke about in a previous video, in the previous Under the Hood video, should I say, and we don't really need to go over it anymore, but to summarize, you can tune your car to effect of grip, drift, off-road, and on-road, and you affect the tires differential, that sort of thing, the put it on the road type of deets. That's what affects where your car drives better. But this is what you've been waiting for. The time has come, my friends. This is the engine swap information. I'm sorry it took so long to get to this point, but there's a lot of information that a lot of people will want to know about Need for Speed Heat, and I gotta give it to them. So there are generally 7 to 10 engine swaps per car. Oh my god, yes. 10 possible is usually the maximum. I am shocked. I was expecting 2 or 3 Forza level, which is fine, but this is next level. Now, when it comes to the hypercars and the higher end stuff and the strange, you can't engine swap like you can with every other car. And that I understand. If it's like a hypercar, you won't want to swap in a 4-cylinder. Well, maybe you would. Maybe you can do that, but you couldn't swap in, say it's like the hybrid V8 of a McLaren P1. You couldn't swap in a V12. Maybe you could because of the space of the hybrid. Whatever. You understand there's limitations based on size and performance, and that's the only limiter in here. But if they have 7 to 10 engines per car, holy crap. How many V12 everythings are you going to see everywhere? Exactly. Now, Need for Speed is going to have the sound swap, just like Forza, in that when you swap the engine, it gets the performance, but it also gets the sound. But we know full well that when that car flies by, that's definitely a Lamborghini V12. But that's definitely not a Lamborghini V12. You get what I'm saying. Now, they're not going to have an animation, I don't believe, or anything. They're not going to have it so it cranes in the engine or the engine actually changes visually. It's just going to be like Forza, the engine changes. Exhaust tuning is another thing I don't really need to mention. We've spoken about this a bajillion times before. Acquiring parts, though, is something that we do need to discuss, because it's been a little bit up in the air as to how you actually unlock parts in this game. Is it going to be 2050 Zell? You level up and you unlock those parts and you buy those parts? Yes, it's going to be like that. As you level up, you unlock new parts to purchase from the shop or the garage. You can, strangely, you can buy them from the shop or the garage, which just makes the shop kind of redundant to me. Whatever. Anyway, so as you level up, you unlock the parts. You buy them. Now, secondary, there's another way to unlock parts. Now, as you remember in Need for Speed Payback, as you played an event, you unlocked new parts. I personally don't like unlocking parts in games like this, as in, like, you just get them, you don't buy them. I think it's kind of silly, but this is where I understand it a little bit more. You buy the parts, normal parts, but if you want the high heat special parts, you do high heat events in the night, and they require you to become top 5 in the event and escape the police. If you don't, you lose that part, which sounds intense. Very intense indeed, especially for like open lobbies with friends that you know are like on the same level as you. Now, these parts They match your current rep level. So as you hit the rep level 50, which we think is the cap again, that's when you're going to start wanting to do most of these high heat events. Sure, you can do them earlier, but it would end up being somewhat pointless unless, you know, you're doing challenges or something with friends on lower end cars. Now, these parts can be purchased once you've unlocked them. So you can purchase them for other cars very simply. But if you want to equip them, you've unlocked them from the event. You go to the garage, you put them on. Now, finally, there is one final point that I have to mention. Parts that you get on one set car are not locked to that car. You can swap them to other cars like you can in the Crew 2, which is what made that upgrade system much better very, very quickly. One of the many things. So there you go. Everything about the upgrades, or most stuff about the upgrades, in under the hood. I'm grateful for this. It gave us so many more details, especially like the engine swaps, the amount of engine swaps that are actually going to be there. I am blown away by that. This game is getting better and better and better the more we hear about it, which is why I need to hear more. Ghost, give me more information. This is not enough. This is not enough. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us for this video. You guys are the best. You're in the right place to be. Be sure to smash like, subscribe if you are new, and I will see you in the next video. Until next time, peace.